Thousand Trees right here on 102.3 HFM, and we are joined by one half of the Bangor Knights, the Bollywood Dream, RJ Singh. And
hello.
Hello. How are you doing, sir?
I feel like I needed a bigger entrance. I needed some like Bollywood music or something to come dancing in the room. Would have been great. You know, would have worked on radio, but
I can sort that. Hang on, bear with me. I can sort that. This is a radio station after all. What about this? What about this? It's a bit. Hang on. Try this one.
It's a bit technical.
Right, hold on. Is that any better?
Oh, that's much better.
We'll have that going on in the background then, shall we?
Yeah, that feels more like an RJ Singh entrance, that one. Yeah, definitely.
Very much so. I could have, if I'd have planned this, that would have been perfect, wouldn't it? Okay, so RJ Singh, for those of you those of the audience who haven't heard of you or don't know much about you, you've got a couple of minutes just to explain who you are and what your position in British wrestling is.
Okay, right. Well, I am the Bollywood Dream, RJ Singh. I've been wrestling for 10 years now on the British circuit. For most of that, I wasn't RJ Singh for a long time. I sort of portrayed a much different character, but then kind of in the more recent years, I've kind of embraced this idea of being a Bollywood star, and it's been great since been doing that gimmick. It's been really, really fun. So that's me.
I have to admit, the whole Bollywood gimmick, it's quite nice to see an Asian wrestler who's not the Sheik or Ashik or something along them lines, and it almost seems like Bollywood is perfect for wrestling. Like, they two must go hand in hand so easily. Yeah,
I mean, it's. I think it's that kind of coming in with a kind of foreign gimmick, but not,
not the cliche.
Yeah, not the cliche foreign gimmick. I mean, a good testament to that is I've been using as a finisher lately the camel clutch. Yeah, I've dubbed it the ethnic submission, just because if you go watch any ethnic wrestler on TV, they all use the camel clutch. So I thought, hey, I'm going to call it mine the ethnic submission. So yeah, it's really cool, I think, to do a gimmick. Like I said, there is a kind of foreign gimmick, but doesn't sort of portray the stereotype of like I'm a crazy foreigner. And particularly when I started doing it. The musical Bombay Dreams was very popular at the time.
Yeah.
And it was around that time when people started, tuning into Bollywood, and then a couple of years ago Slumdog Millionaire came out, and everyone thought that was really cool. So it's kind of the time it came around was a very sort of really good timing for it, and people really caught onto it, and I think people really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's like I said earlier in the link, the entrance that you do to the ring with the guys carrying you and your man with your megaphone, and what's that chap's name, by the way?
Tabraze, who is the director. Tabraze is the director. He's absolutely brilliant. He comes out and he's really doing his thing, and he's absolutely brilliant at riling up crowds, particularly when he's got the megaphone as well. We've actually had a megaphone smashed by a member of the audience once. They managed to wrangle it off him, and they smashed it.
That's brilliant.
Which is actually hilarious. So we bought a stronger and heavier megaphone this time. It won't break as easily this time.
And tell him not to go too near the guardrails.
Yeah, but I mean, we were really lucky. I mean, in terms of entrances, we were really lucky on FPW last year, Future Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
They managed to secure us some Bollywood dancers, so our whole entrance was, you had these Bollywood dance students came out and they did this big dance number in the ring, and then it just literally their music cut and our music hit, and we came out after that. And it was absolutely incredible. I think you can find the footage on YouTube if you look up Bangor Knights entrance at FPW. It's a really great, like a little WrestleMania moment for us, having that whole big Bollywood entrance.
I was just going to go down that road, actually. It's not something you see that much in British wrestling, big, grandiose entrances. A lot of it is just chap comes out from behind a curtain or maybe a smoke machine. But to have that, it's something that separates you from the rest of the pack in British wrestling. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's definitely one of the things that I like about it, is that, you kind of the music hits and then you kind of get this big entrance way. And whether it is with, Bollywood dance, or whether it's just like with a couple of members of Entourage, I think it's it leaves quite a lasting impression. It kind of sets the tone straight away when you kind of put on a spectacle like that. And I don't know if you caught any of Ring Car King.
Yes.
On the Colours Channel, I think that the opening they had to the show was this massive Bollywood dance sequence, and it was an absolute spectacle. And then from then on, I think they really set the scene of what their wrestling show was going to be like. And I think it's a very similar thing of straight away wham bam, you get people's attention, and then into the wrestling, you hold their attention after that.
Exactly. I mean, but like I said earlier, Bollywood does seem to go hand in hand with wrestling because it's just flamboyant beyond belief, isn't it? Everything's turned up to 11, so...
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you said it right there. It is everything turned up to 11. It's loud, it's flamboyant, it's very entertaining. So I think, the two just mesh together perfectly.
Perfect. So to get away from your gimmick then, Mr. Singh, you were trained, you said you've been in the business 10 years, right? You were trained by Alex Shane. How do you feel British wrestling's progressed in them 10 years?
I mean, when I started out, it was it's weird because, wrestling, wrestling all over the world has its dips and its troughs. I mean, we know that ourselves from looking at WWE. There was this, that massive boom period in the late 90s into the early 2000s. It then kind of seemed to fizzle a bit in the mid 2000s, and then it's kind of been picking up and down since then. I mean, British wrestling at the time when I got in was a really exciting time because at the time, sort of FWA was one of the main. It'd be wrong to say it was the main company in Britain because it wasn't the main company in Britain. But they were they were a company that were getting a lot of imports in. They started making quite a lot of waves. They started getting fans around the country interested, which going from where things were more local, FWA was kind of a touring company, and they started moving around and started getting people really interested, and they started getting that internet following which other companies didn't have. So when I got in at the time, it was an incredibly exciting time to be getting involved in wrestling. And they kind of got to a peak, and unfortunately it didn't last. But from that, other companies sprang up from there. We had IPW, which we know is a very successful company now, puts on great wrestling shows. Future Shock, NGW, all these shows now, which kind of have gone back to the kind of their own regions, and they're kind of they're not really touring around anywhere. They're sticking to their regions. But the quality of some of the shows now is just utterly brilliant. And for me, it's just a shame some of these shows aren't on TV because, like I said, some of the companies I've been working for recently have been putting so much effort into their production values, so much effort into their wrestlers. The wrestling is absolutely top quality. And I just, my hope is more people get to see it.
Well, this is something I've thought about quite a lot. We live, and I said it in the show actually, we live in a world where we have instant access to YouTube and the internet and all these things. Why can't people just do it themselves? Why can we not just put the production values in and do it and learn it? There's enough students out there who study filmmaking and media. Why can't they just pull these people together?
It is. I mean, it's about getting someone who's really going to dedicate their time to pulling in all these people, because we can kind of say, oh, there are all these people out here who are doing it, but it really does need someone to put it all together and say, this is the vision, and this. Lots of people have tried. I know lots of different people have had a go, and it hasn't quite worked yet. And that's not to say it will never happen, but it really will take that one person who's got the time, the energy, the dedication to be able to just put it all together and say, this is what we need to do, and get all those different elements together and produce a really good wrestling program. And get that back on TV.
Because the talent is there in this country. I mean, you do promotion. I was looking at your stuff on the internet, and you've done lots of different promotions over the years, and obviously travelled the country. The talent in this country is amazing, isn't it?
That has. I mean, it's some of the talent now. I mean, I look at some of the newer guys now, and I wish I was that good 10 years ago when I started. If I was half as good as some of these guys now, it's just that they are utterly phenomenal wrestlers out there.
Guys such as who?
Sorry, second?
Guys such as who? Like, which guys do you notice?
I mean, one of the first names that springs to mind is probably no surprise a guy called Noam Dar.
Who we've booked on the show. But I can announce that Noam Dar will be on this show next month.
Oh, excellent. Noam, I mean, I was really shocked. I met Noam about a year ago. Not realising how young he was, actually. I think he was 17 at the time. He's 18 now, and the guy is just a phenomenal wrestler. Really charismatic, really making ways for himself as well. So he's, I think he's going to be such a huge star. Another one springs to mind is Jack Gallagher as well. Jack Gallagher, I had the pleasure of wrestling him last year at Future Shock, and the guy is just a star on the rise. He looks the part, he wrestles the part. Really is amazing. And then there's loads of others out there. I mean, you've got my partner Daryl. I've got to take this moment as well to plug Daryl as well, because Daryl's only been in a couple of years, but he's I think Daryl's waiting for his big opportunity. I think when Daryl gets his really big opportunity, he's going to really surprise everyone, because he is such a sound wrestler, really really good flyer as well. And I think now since we've been tagging up and he's been sort of taking part in the Bangor Nights thing, he's really come out of himself, and I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him in wrestling.
How do you feel about tagging then, going into the tag team wrestling world in Britain, from being a singles wrestler for so long? Is it a massive change for you, enjoying that, or is it just...
I love it, because well, one of the main reasons being that, you know, I'm 31 now and Daryl's in his early 20s, so I've got a guy who's,
someone to take the place for you.
He's younger, he's faster, he's stronger, you know, and the minute I'm tired, he's in there like a shot, so it's great having him around. No, I mean, you know, I never kind of saw myself as a tag wrestler, and obviously being a singles wrestler for such a long time, it was something I never kind of intended to go into. Darren and me kind of, you know, came together and we sort of said, you know, we think this could work and we thought it'd be a really good idea. So, you know, we tried it. And to be fair, compared to other tag teams out there, you know, like the Leaders or Project Ego,
Predators as well.
Brothers, we're relatively new as a tag team, so we don't have that experience edge that a lot of the other tag teams have in this country. But, you know, having said that, you know, we've now, I think, especially with Future Pro Wrestling pushing us as sort of their main tag team, we've kind of really got on a roll with our tag stuff now. And like I said, we were fortunate enough that NGW brought us up for them, Future Shock as well. So, you know, I think as a tag team, who like, you know, in my mind, a tag team who's starting out as a tag team, we've actually managed to accumulate quite a wide variety of matches and experiences against other teams, and I think that's really helped, and that's kind of sped us along the path a little bit. So, you know, having wrestled the Leaders at FPW and sort of just, I think, announced yesterday at Comic Wrestling Alliance, who are running a show in August 25th, we're going to be wrestling Project Ego.
Nice.
Which is another kind of big step for us. On Sunday, we've got the London Riots, who are another tag team just kind of starting out as well, but there's a lot of history with both members of the London Riots and Daryl. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of exciting tag stuff coming up as well. So, you know, it's been a really good I think transition, and I think a lot of my shows now tend to be tag wrestling with Daryl now. So, but it's it's been a great transition, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
I always find as well in British wrestling, tag teams are massively popular because you've always got someone working the crowd and playing with the crowd. Are you finding that's helping with your, well, not helping as such, but more fun to do with your crowd work?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you come see the Bangor Nights, I say crowd work. It tends to be one of us wrestling in the ring and the other one of us standing on the apron plugging our merchandise as much as we can, which we have been guilty of in the past.
We've all been there.
No, I think tag team. Unfortunately, when you look at the big picture, especially going back to WWE, it's no secret as to how tag wrestling is viewed in WWE.
Yeah.
It's kind of this real afterthought. And I think that's testament to the fact that they have the ugliest belts in wrestling ever as their tag belts.
I don't know, the new NXT belt's not looking too pretty.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's horrible.
If you speak to anyone in wrestling, there's two things I'm a massive mark for. One is wrestling gear, and the other one's wrestling belts. So